Welcome to the Sage Women podcast, hosted by Melanie White and Dr. Nick Engera. We have real conversations with real women, health professionals, and coaches who share stories about perimenopause, menopause, and a range of women's health issues. Please subscribe so you get the latest updates every fortnight.
Hey, it's Melanie White here with the Sage Women podcast, and I'm really excited to introduce one of our consultants, dietitian and wellness coach, Amanda Mannes. Amanda, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me, Mel.
We're going to talk about something important, inflammation and all of the things that it causes in the body and how to get rid of it.
Yeah. Where would you like me to start?
I guess maybe a good starting point would be the backstory. Like a lot of women, especially around midlife, feel tired, they have bloating, they have cravings, they start gaining weight. What's all that about?
So I believe that a lot of it is obviously we've got lots of changing hormones going on. We're leading much busier lifestyles. We're putting, we're juggling all the full-time work and the kids and all these things. And our nutrition has, we're eating more convenience foods. We're eating more things like that there is that link between diet and inflammation. But there's also that link between, if our body's inflamed, then that inflammation's everywhere and it's causing more symptoms throughout the body. And by the time we get to midlife, most of us have at least one chronic condition. So that's going to increase our inflammatory levels anyway. And by the time we add those quick, easy, convenient meals in a little bit too often, or a bit too much alcohol, or a bit too much sugar, it all accumulates over time and starts to play havoc with our energy and everything else.
What might some of those symptoms be, like sore knees, or what types of, how does inflammation show up?
So as I said before, it can be throughout the whole body. So an example, I suppose, is when I helped one client with just she came in with insulin resistance and she came back the next week. And she said that she was now sleeping through the night because her knee pain had gone away. Her knees, her arthritis in her knees had always been unbearable during the night. And she couldn't remember sleeping through the night. So it's not like an acute inflammation that your ankle swells up or your knee swells up. This is something that's in every, through your blood, it's through every cell in your body, and it's changing that histology everywhere. So some of the symptoms might be gut problems. Really tired eyes can be one thing. Difficulty thinking. If we've got inflammation, in our brain, obviously, this is at these microscopic levels I'm talking here. But if we've got inflammation everywhere, everything's just going to be a bit more sluggish. And we're going to get more of all of those symptoms.
And I know you specialize in helping people with inflammation. What's that about for you? What's the why behind that?
So myself, I have a couple of inflammatory-based diseases. So I've got inflammatory bowel disease and I've got a condition called ankylosing spondylitis. And I was diagnosed with that quite young, at 28. And so probably, spent nearly 20 years trying to figure out how my own diet can reduce my symptoms from that. But I've just found over the years that by doing that, I've had so many other benefits. And usually if I do have a flare up, it's kind of, I get all those symptoms that people get in midlife. So I get the brain fog, I get the bloat, I get all of those kind of inflammatory related symptoms, that people associate with menopause too. There's like nearly a complete overlap.
Right. As probably joint pain and things as well, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And so let's say someone comes to you and says, oh, I'm so tired, I'm feeling flat, how do I get my energy back? What would you say to that person?
Yeah. So most people come in, wanting to lose a few kilos, but they are so tired. They say that they need it to be really simple. And they often say, just tell me what to eat and I'll do that, because they don't even have the brain space to think about it too much. So generally what we do is we kind of figure out what was that one thing that would make the biggest difference in their life at the moment with their food, what they're capable of doing and what they can do, and try and get some energy back. And once they've found that it doesn't have to be hard, that one simple change can make a big difference, we use that momentum to kind of create bigger, longer, more sustainable changes. So what I'd say to the women out there, I suppose, that are really struggling with their energy is maybe pick one thing. If it's, drinking more water, or, not getting the takeaway, or trying to have veggies, every single day, or trying to have more veggies. You can never have too many.
Yeah, no one ever died of vegetable overdose.
No, well, there's actually studies to look at how much veggies we need to help us actually have a reduced inflammatory change in our blood levels. So we can change our inflammation quite quickly with upping our veggies significantly. So there's studies around that.
Interesting. What are some of the other studies around inflammation? I mean, how do we know that nutrition is part of that solution?
Yeah, yep. So there's lots of studies around individual food products like turmeric, garlic, lemon, Cajun pepper, cinnamon, blueberries. The list is kind of endless. The omega-3s, the reducing the red meat, the upping the veggies, the drinking enough water, staying hydrated, all affects your inflammation. So there's mountains of data on the link between diet and inflammation.
Have you got any examples of people who've done really well on changing their diet? I know you've worked with probably thousands of people over the years, but is there one?
Yeah, there is. So I've been, yes, people come back to me and say that they can't believe how much difference things have made when we really drill down and they focus for a short time on doing a bit more if they're really keen. So I have a reset that I do sometimes with clients, and they're blown away with the results. But I suppose the story that I want to share is actually my sister, who has, I'm a dietitian, but she's never been interested in changing her diet, and she has a lot of inflammatory based conditions herself, and he's starting to suffer from the menopause symptoms, the brain fog and the hot sweats, like the night sweats and things. And I decided to ask her to review my 3-day meal plan. I revised it and did some new recipes and typed it all up with shopping lists and everything, so that people that don't want to think can just be given the package and off they go. So in that revision, I gave it to her to try, and I thought she would just look at it and just, pick a couple of things. But because she's my sister, she wanted it to do well for me, not for herself. She was doing it for me just to make sure it all worked and I had it all right. She's a school teacher, so she made sure it had to be, everything that was written correctly and that everything lined up. So she bought all the things and followed the meal plan to a T. And she noticed a huge difference. So she's been waking up with the hot sweats. They disappeared completely.
Wow.
She's got ankylosing spondylitis too. She noticed a significant reduction in her back pain. She noticed a reduction in swelling. She noticed a reduction in her her hands. And then a couple of weeks later, we were talking on the phone and she said, actually, I just did the 3 days, but I'm still, my symptoms are still not as bad as they were. And she said, and I still crave more veggies than I've ever had, just from having 3 days of, focused action, I suppose.
And so I guess that makes her open to doing more of what's been working because she's feeling so good.
Exactly. So a lot of people use that reset in different ways. Some people kind of come back to it every month or two, or when they feel like they need to reset. Others will use that as a platform to kind of build those longer term healthy habits off.
Yeah, which makes sense to do that because, and it's funny, isn't it? They think you can get such a difference in 3 days. Why would you go back? But of course, things around you pull you back, and actually building those new habits is so important.
Exactly. And it is about kind of, as we get into this midlife phase, we've also got to recognize that some of the habits that we've had from our 20s and 30s that worked for our body in our 20s to 30s no longer work in our 40s and 50s. So it's actually, not even necessarily all the really bad habits. It's our standard daily life habits that may not be serving us anymore as well, that are really hard to change.
Yeah, it's so important to get that support. And actually leading into that and then to finish up our session today, we're going to be promoting a TAME Your Inflammation program that you'll be running next year. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so that's a 4-week program. And it basically, so we started with the reset because people get such good benefits and feel so good. So I don't want anyone to wait for the 4 weeks to get the results. You get the results in the first few days. And that will give you the energy and clarity and, reduce the bloat and feeling better so that you can really dive into the rest of the program. So we talk about learning how to understand your hormones, how they're changing, what happens with things like insulin, what's going on, why your muscles, you're going to the gym, but you still might be carrying that body fat around your middle and you can't seem to shift it, what's going on there and how to get rid of that, how to get rid of, all the bloating and brain fog and all of those things. We talk about how to create those healthy habits, and we talk about changing mindsets and also some really simple things, learning how to meal plan really quickly and easily with some of the technologies that are available as well. So it's not just telling you what to do, it's helping women understand what's going on and giving them the tools and resources they can take with them, forever for moving forward to reduce those symptoms.
And what sorts of outcomes or results might be typical for someone doing a program like this? I know everyone's different and results can vary, but what sorts of things would you expect to see after 4 weeks?
Yeah, look, the main thing that people come back to me and say is how good they feel. So it's about the bloating, the clarity of mind, that how clearly they can think now. It's about how much energy they've got. A bonus is the weight, but as I like to say, like we want you to gain muscle in midlife too. So it's not necessary. It's about learning kind of to stay off the scale and accept what's going on within your body, because we talk about in the program how to build that muscle mass effectively in midlife as well. So if you're losing 2 kilos of body fat, but you're gaining 2 kilos of muscle, the scale's not going to show that, but
you'll look amazing.
You will feel it. You will feel it, and you'll probably see it in your clothes. And that confidence that goes with that, when you know that it's working, even though the scale doesn't say it is, is really quite powerful as well. Bit of self-acceptance comes in there.
Yeah, it's such an important point. So you need to understand and accept things before you can change.
Exactly. Yeah. And look, and a lot of people do lose weight. But a lot of people have been struggling with that for a long time. So if they're not losing weight, but they're losing body fat and they're gaining muscle, that's pretty awesome as well.
It's a really good result.
Yeah.
So you're going to be running a webinar describing the program and talking a little bit more about inflammation in depth. And that's 22nd January, I think, 2024.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
And when does the date in front of
me? And when does the program actually start?
So we kick off on the 5th of February. So the education sessions for the program will be run on Monday. And then there's a small group coaching component as well. So you won't be with everyone in the group, but that group coaching is where you actually get to talk to me one-on-one about the changes that you want to make. And it's in the group setting so that you guys can all support each other and build that community.
Awesome. And I know that we're partnering with an organisation called Monitor You, who will be offering blood monitoring for people that are looking for inflammatory markers and heart health and changes, because we'll expect to see that coming up in the blood results in as little as 4 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty exciting.
Thanks for your time today, Amanda. I'm really looking forward to doing this program with you, because I know what to do, but often don't do it. And I think having that framework and support and a focused period of time is really helpful. So I'm looking forward to your program. Have you got any last thoughts for anyone wondering whether they should do this or not, or is it the right time, or are they the right person? What would you say?
Look, there's never a right time to do it. There's only now. If you learn one thing from the program about how to look after yourself, you can take that with you. So look, there are meal plans and things that go along with the program as a bonus, but it's more about teaching you how to do it for yourself. So I think, everyone can benefit from, as you said, that contained time, that community, that little bit more education. I think if you're laying awake at night with menopause symptoms or perimenopause symptoms, then yeah, it's definitely worth it. No one wants to be laying there in the middle of the night in hot sweat.
What's the cost of doing nothing?
Exactly.
Getting more of the same, right?
Exactly.
Excellent. Thanks so much for your time today, Amanda. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Mel.
Look forward to seeing you on the webinar and the program.
Thanks.